everyone, you're listening to the Risky Rollers podcast. I'm Dalton and I'm joined by Locky.
Hey.
And we're here to talk about some of the stuff that's been happening recently for us in the hobby. So before we get into all that, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Tim at Dice Arcade. You'll be hearing from him a bit later on, as well as point you down in the description towards our Discord and our Patreon. The Discord's fantastic, great stuff happening in there. I've just started doing some hobby streams again. We're actually live streaming to Discord when we're doing some painting and modelling. And there's just so much great stuff happening. There's a TTS league, I think, that's just been started.
Mm-hmm.
Or a gaming league in general, which is TTS and physical games. There's always a couple of games happening whenever I pop in and have a look, which is quite frequently.
There's a game happening right now.
As we're recording, there's 4 people in there chatting, talking shit, having a great time.
That's it.
So jump on in there, check all that out, talk about all the new books. I know we've been talking about all the new rules from Custodes and GSC most of today, so it's been great fun.
Yes.
So you can always be on in there to have a chat. And check out our Patreon as well. If you like what we do and want to support us, we have early access to battle reports, we've got free stuff, as well as an entire narrative report series that is going up there as we film it. And until it's completed, it's going to be entirely Patreon exclusive. So and that's get up there and check that out.
And that's also going to get a little bit more progress now that we have the GSC book. Just full disclosure, now we didn't say it previously, but we were actually waiting for the GSC book to come before we were pushing, because spoiler alert, the campaign's about a GSC and Tyranids invading a planet. So now that all that stuff's happened, and we have GSC models. And we have now a avenue to tell the story we want to tell. So,
exactly,
that's going to get...
That's all slated for the next couple months.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm excited about that. The report that is up was great fun to do, so I'm keen to see more of that.
And it's all building towards the end of the year.
Indeed.
Which is something epic.
Yeah.
Probably
so go and check...
Probably shouldn't have said that.
Probably not, no. But it is epic, and all right. That's all we're going to say on that one. So check that out. There's good stuff happening. And yeah, if you want to see even more of our hobby stuff, I've been posting a bunch of Instagram recently, and I know you're about to put up a bunch. So you can follow us on Instagram at Risky Rollers and at Risky Rollers Locky and Risky Rollers Dalton. We've got plenty of stuff up there, all the cool models and projects we're working on.
Yeah, there's a big rush at the moment now with me painting Deathwatch, which is back to me old starting roots, and then Tyranids, and then GSC.
Yep.
They're my main 3 things for the next sort of like 2 or 3 months.
Yep. So the Death Guard, not Deathwatch. The Deathwatch is being painted.
Deathwatch. I've got Deathwatch. I've got Deathwatch models to finish from my original scheme, because I have like a bunch of models that were like 75% done that I didn't send off. So I'm like, because I'm not going to be that guy. Like, okay, can you finish my model that like I've done, 75% off? Like, no. So I need to finish.
Speaking of which, big shout out to Shaky Sable Painting.
Yeah.
Who has done the rest of your Deathwatch army, and they look mint as fuck.
Yeah, they're fucking amazing. His edge highlighting is next level. So yeah, big shout outs to him. Tyson is his real name. He's a legend. He has done an amazing job, and he's got a lot more work ahead of him in 2022. So for Risky Rollers. So yeah, it's so it's good. There's a lot of painting, a lot of models, a lot of stuff.
It is. Yeah. So before we move on to what we've been working on recently, I do just want to point out that we'd planned to do a Death Guard and Necrons battle report next, based on the contents of the Christmas Battle Force boxes. So those are both still well underway by both of us. You're currently, at least earlier today, you're posting up pictures of the Death Guard you're working on.
Yeah,
I've got the Necrons on the painting table as well.
It's going slow. It's going slow.
That has been postponed by one release, because the GW decided to come out and release the Genestealer Cults and Custodes book out of nowhere that have been delayed for several months. So we have put that on hold and pushed that back because we're covering the Codices. The books are on express shipment from Dice Arcade, and we will be recording and then 1 week turnaround to get that out for you for your next battle report that you can see.
That's it.
So next Saturday, it's going to be up. You're going to see it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we are not privy to exclusives from Games Workshop as of yet. But hey, look, if you guys want us to get exclusives, just kick up a fuss and hashtag Risky Rollers in all your posts and say Games Workshop / Warhammer community. Let Risky Rollers have premium access for the Aussie community, because I don't think there's an Aussie channel that actually gets.
Not yet.
Not yet, exactly. And look, we all know that those codexes are sitting in the warehouses like weeks beforehand.
Have been for months.
Yeah, exactly. So, look, if you want us to do this stuff earlier, we need you guys to help make waves for us, as well as we're trying to make waves as well, So it's a team effort, guys. Team effort.
But with all of that said, Locky, would you care to tell us what you've been working on?
Well, like I said, not really much. I painted one plague marine between I don't know. The holidays haven't been great for me. We've been hit with a bout of COVID is rampant here in Australia, so there's that to deal with.
We've got a few cases close to home. So.
Yep, I had it. Family had it. We it got hit a bit hard with it, but we're all fine.
All right.
Yeah, we're all fine and all good.
Yep.
I mean, we're all vaxxed and that and everything, so all G. But so when you have plans of your kids being in daycare, so you can actually paint models and resort your studio, but oh no, they can't go, so you have to take care of them. Creates a bit of an issue, So, so not much. I built stuff, but I actually did today. I finally finished the reorganization of the studio, so it's a little bit more fluid and less just bits and trash everywhere. I've got a bit more of a kind of like structured plan on, like this comes in, this comes out kind of thing, and moving it around.
It's not stuff you guys have seen, but it's always behind the camera. But yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, it's not anymore. It's nice and clean
it's all sorted now.
And together now, so it's good. But yeah, the plan was I'm going to paint 2 Blight Haulers. And then, as I said, just onto the Death Watch, finishing up my custom converted Corpus Blackstar, and then 2 converted Terminators before I get into my. If you follow me on Instagram, you'd see my converted Tyrannofex that's destroying a Rhino.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, so that one's the next to be fully painted, and then after that we'll be starting the GSC spares from our army. So just I guess the reinforcements for the army. But yeah, that's what I'm at. What about you, mate?
I've been pretty busy since I had a few days off over Christmas with all the stuff that went on, and then I've just been smashing out all sorts of stuff. So Necrons built all the stuff for the Battle Force, getting them underway. They should be being painted this week. I painted up some chaos. I've fallen to the Dark Gods.
Oh yeah, finally that's good. It's nice.
Yeah. So I painted up 5 Dark Vengeance Chosen. Tried out finally get my wet palette set up. It's been trying that out. Tried out some army painted paints, some wet blending, having a grand old time. Just painted up some Chosen, the Chaos Lord. You will have seen that up on, I think both on my Instagram and the Risky Rollers one by now.
And there's a Forge Fiend too, isn't there?
Yes, there's a Forge Fiend currently on the painting table. I've blocked in all the colours, done all the reds, the blacks, the hazard stripes. Just needs a few metallic details, and it'll be done. And I've got 5 rubrics, some cult troops for that Red Corsair army. So,
but you've also got a bit of a backlog coming your way now regarding Chaos, don't you?
I do, yeah. So over the weekend, I had the chance to go up to Dice Arcade up in Sydney. There was supposed to be an event happening.
No,
but unfortunately
cancelled. It was
cancelled.
Oh,
it was
fucking COVID.
Disappointing. But I went up to Sydney anyway. I met Tim, had a fantastic time, and spent a bit of money and got some chaos. So
bit jelly. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
it was good, man. You got to come up next time.
I should have. A big shout out to Steve. What did Steve give us when we were up there? Well, when you were up there, I was up there in spirit, but you were there physically. What did you buy from Steve?
Oh, Steve was the gentleman who sold us all the Tau.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to be appearing on the channel as soon as that Tau Codex drops. In fact, it's already been sent off to Shaky to get painted.
It has.
So that will be sweet. I am super pumped. I love Tau. They were one of my first armies that I was getting into when I started the hobby. Back when I didn't have any money to actually buy any minis. Because I was 12.
Yeah.
But that's cool. So they're all getting painted up, and I am super excited to be able to play them on the channel.
And not only that, they're also being painted in a 3rd edition color scheme.
They are. Oh, in such a classic scheme.
It's such a sick
3rd edition
scheme.
days.
It's that white urban camo scheme from the 3rd edition Codex.
The blue,
blue, grey, and black camo or whatever, and with white paneling everywhere, and then the red detailing on the weapons. It's awesome.
So cool. Yeah.
When I was 8 years old, or I think I was literally 8 years old when that book came out, or 9, and I remember seeing that going, God, I wish I could paint camo like that. Yeah. And it wasn't until I was 10 where I tried, and I did it on some guardsmen, and it was trash. But yeah, so it's just big throwbacks. And look, if the book is, I've been very vocal about how much I don't like Tau lorically, or lore-wise, or however you talk about it. But game-wise, I don't like them because they didn't play like they did when they were released. And if they bring it back to how they were, very mobile, very, hit-and-run kind of tactics, malicious-style warfare, I will be 100% on Tau train.
Yeah, I'm with you on that all the way. I'm not a fan of the castle up and fire all the guns. It's lame. Just better for reasons.
It's not
that.
But
if you're jumping around Devilfish, you've got piranhas darting out and striking targets. Yeah, Pathfinders sneaking around taking objectives. Oh, that is the way I want to play Tau.
Battle suits cool. In and out, just pop in within a really short distance, just dong, 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 shoot, and then just pop straight back out. Sacrifice and shield drones, all that stuff. It's just
that is cool.
Love it, love it. So I'm a bit, I'm not getting too excited. I'm holding back. Just gonna see what's gonna happen. But ultimately, just all Tau fans out there, just so you know, we're making OG broadsides. Okay.
Yes.
We've got no trash 2-arm holding railgun bullshit. Railguns are on the shoulders, and either the plasmas or the missiles are on the hands, like they should always be, because that's just so cool.
Those are the coolest broadsides.
There is a piece of art in that book, in that 3rd edition codex, and it's done in that kind of
I know the one you're thinking of.
The concept art style, where one of them is literally got the 2 missile pods, and both railguns are firing, and it's all black and white, and it's just looks. It's it reminds me of the Dawn of War game. When you set them up, and they have that process to lock their feet. They lock their feet in, and then. It was so cool. So cool. That part of Tau, the full mech stuff and all that, I fucking love it. I reckon it's really cool. It's just lately they're lame. Whatever. Anyway.
But yes, I picked up a bunch of that, and there's several thousand points of Tau there.
Look, we got a deal. Good deal, and Steve's a ledge. So shout out to Steve. Yeah. Top bloke.
Absolutely.
I didn't meet him, so I don't even know if he's a top bloke.
He was an absolute gentleman. We had a great chat about some of the stuff he's doing. Yeah. So thank you, mate. It was absolutely fantastic to meet you.
Yeah.
But while I was up there as well, picked up another bunch of Chaos stuff, and then you've got a bunch of old 3rd Ed Chaos stuff.
Yeah, I do. I got Metal Raptors, mate, for you.
Oh, that's so cool.
Metal 3rd? No.
You got that old
4th Ed.
Is it the Mark 4 jump pack they've got?
It's when they went the curvy one.
Yeah, the curvy one with the angular tops.
Yep. Is it 3rd Ed or 4th Ed? It's 3rd Ed. No, it's 3rd Ed. No.
Might be 4th edition.
No, I think it's 4th. Yeah, I think it's 4th edition. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the mark of the jump pack, because I know they use Mark 6 or 7 jump packs at the moment, which are the round ones.
No, but aren't Raptors Raptors are demonic possessed, not possessed, but demonic infused jump pack marines. They're a different thing, right? They're not just Chaos Space Marines with jump packs like Assault Marines are to.
Raptors are Chaos Space Marines with jump packs.
Are they?
Chaos Assault Marines. Warp Talons, what you're thinking of. Warp Talons are the twisted ones that cut through reality with their claws or some shit.
Yeah, but even maybe it's chapters, because I know the Raptors of the Night Lords are like a whole thing in of itself. They're not just dudes with jump packs. They're like a whole different,
I mean, again, that's kind of where Warp Talons are leading as far as generic ones go.
Yeah, right, okay.
They're kind of the super twisted ones. They sort of they hunt in packs on their own. They're just off to the side.
Yeah, they're full nutcases.
Yeah. Whereas Raptors are often, not always, of course, but often they're just essentially Chaos Assault Marines. They still function as part of a legion or part of a force.
Yeah, right, okay. Yeah, alright. That's lame. But anyway, Warp Talons there.
But, I've got a box of them as well. So they're happening because I just wanted to wet blend more Lightning Claws.
Sick.
But yes, that's what I've been working on. As well, and also terrain for our event coming up at the end of the month.
Oh, yeah, don't remind me.
So that's
of the terrain, not the event. I'm happy for the event. I'm just like, terrain, fuck.
So that's 2 weeks away from when this goes out.
It is.
So that's pretty cool. And I have built, just today, when we're recording this, I've built an entire table's worth of Orc terrain from a couple of boxes of the Octarius Kilting box.
So for all of you that cannot attend or didn't want to attend or whatever, we will be doing our utmost. We won't be streaming this one.
We'll be doing little Instagram stories, reels, little Instagram live things. Yeah.
And that'll be me, pretty much, because Dalton will be doing other stuff on the back end. I'll be the one who's like glued to the camera, so you see my beautiful face. Flat out, I'm going to be getting in people's faces. I'm probably going to have a few too many beers. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. Very, 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 very excited.
Yeah. So that'll be cool. And we've both got a lot of terrain to get ready before that happens.
Yeah.
Because we're going to have tables that look mint.
Yeah, they're going to look sick. They're going to be, LVO / frontline gaming / major, I'm sure like the tables that are at Uprising and those kinds of things and big GTs. That's the standard of table we're going to be having on at our event. So,
but
come in.
You'll
see the photos and you'll see the vids and chime in on it and give your thoughts and whatever. And unfortunately, we won't be streaming this event, but it will be coming in the future. Not this one, but it might be happening in June. Maybe. We don't know.
Maybe not. We're not sure yet.
Maybe
not.
See
how we go.
We'll see how we go.
But yeah, so that's been what I've been working on, as well as a few bits and pieces, some Tau on the side as well, and there's always a few different things to do. Yeah, it's been crazy.
It has. I mean, Christmas is always hard, right? Like, you always have so much that kind of gets in the way, and getting back to a sense of normality. I mean, it takes you like 1 to 2 weeks to get back into the swing of a work, routine and cycle.
Yeah.
Let alone,
I'm still not there. I'm still well out of it.
Well, my week only started today.
Yeah.
So it just takes some time to get used to it. But the rest of the world's been churning, and there's been a lot of stuff that's been churning. So as you were saying earlier, we've got books coming out, and so far, look, we don't have the book in front of us. We're not doing a review. But I've watched a lot of the other people that are privy to these reviews.
Yeah.
And the GSC book looks pretty sick.
Yes, it does.
It looks
like a lot of fun.
Not powerful, i.e. Drakari Admech powerful upon release. But that's a good thing. Though. That's a good thing. You don't want that anyway. It's not going to break the game like Eldari is going to break the game when the Crafts World book is released. I'm saying it right now, publicly on camera.
I mean, you've been real negative about this for
Bro, I've been saying this for months. I'm like, they will do it again because they do it all the time.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but at the same time, like, none of the rules that we've seen can we be like, this is definitely broken, because we haven't seen the rest of the book. We haven't seen context yet.
I don't know. The fact that when they brought out the they brought out the railgun for Tau and everyone lost their mind, and then it's like, oh hey, the Wraith Knight has 2 of those. So it's like, okay. And then you thinking you're not going to be getting like full rerolls and pluses to hit from psychic powers and all sorts of other jank that the Eldar are going to have? Yeah,
probably,
right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll be hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s, and then you're going to be wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. And it's just going to be like, oh.
It's gonna be like, see that Imperial Knight? Now you don't.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
look, it's fine, whatever. And I've said this so many times internally in our Discord and stuff. It's not that something about Eldar is strong, but what's going to happen? Mark my words. And look, if I'm proven wrong, I'll be very happy. I'll happily sit there and tuck my tail between my legs and be like, sick. I'm happy to be wrong. But they're going to be very durable. They're going to be very strong in shooting. They're going to be very strong in melee. That's I'm calling it right now. That's the bottom line. They're going to be good at everything. And it's going to put AdMech to shame at being good at everything, and it's not going to be fun for people. Straight up. It's going to give bad hurts, just by the nature of the fact that there are going to be layers of redundancy, very much like Drakari is. Drakari, Cold of Strife is just not fun to play against. It just isn't. It's just not a fun game. You're like, this is stupid. I was lucky enough to not play against the Orc Menace thing, but hearing about it, I'm like, why?
It's nuts. Yeah.
You just be like, nah. It's sort of like the controversy of that dude who gave up turn 1 or whatever it was. I think that wasn't that. That was AdMech. I think that was LGT, the AdMech player or whatever, and then conceded turn 1 after lost turn 1 or whatever. But 100% I do the same thing. Why am I going to sit across the table and waste 2 hours of my time when I could sit and be like, you're going to win anyway. Let's have some beers and just chat about how stupid your army is or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, if you can find a way to game it, from an existing thing or whatever, cool. All props to you. That's great. I love that stuff. But just, playing something that's broken or something that existing that's broken. And look, like I said from the very beginning, I hope that Eldari isn't going to be that way. But from the leaks that have already been coming out, yeah, it's probably not going to be that way. Yeah. It's probably going to be real bad hurts. And they're just Space Elves, guys. Come on. God.
You don't like Space Elves? You don't like Space Dwarfs? What? I don't get it, man.
I like demons and bugs and like weird alien things. Those are the things that I like.
No, man.
Look,
about the Space Dwarf Blackers, 2022 apparently.
Oh, fuck that. Fuck that right off. Seriously. I will, nah. I will make it my mission that if squats become a thing, to literally gotcha every single squat player ever. I'll be like, bro, I'm just going to rail you. I'll be like, why? Because you're playing squats. Fuck off. They're wrong. Is
that only with the new squats, or what if someone shows up with a beautifully painted goblin green base?
The whole concept of Space Dwarves is fucking stupid. It's stupid. It's stupid. The only reason why I like Harleys is because they're not really like elves. They're kind of like, I don't know, like shaman mysticism. They're a little bit different. They're quirky and weird and strange. Same with even Dark Eldar. It's very much like, taken to a whole different. They're both taken to different extremes.
Dark Elves.
But what are Dark Elves? From pop culture, people don't know what unless they're in the kind of internal sort of R.A. Salvatore / Tolkien / those kinds of books and that kind of culture-y stuff. They're not going to know what it is because it's just not shown. You've got what you would say Dark Elves from Tolkien is in the Second Age, right? Which is how Sauron became Sauron, right? Because he was a Dark Elf, yeah, right? For all intents and purposes, right?
You're stretching, but yeah, sure, why not?
Well, he wasn't. He was a good dude, a good elf dude who went bad, right?
All right.
Yeah. No.
I mean, yeah, but Dark Elves as a concept are probably more of a contemporary idea as far as fantasies goes.
As in dark, but not evil, but dark as in opposite side of belief sort of thing, right? Just looking at the coin differently, right?
Yeah. But the point of that is they're still elves.
Yeah. So, but the difference is from a 40k point of view is that those two have, I feel, a little bit more of a uniqueness that you can kind of get behind for those reasons. But the Craftworld is just nah, it's just standard high elf kind of trope, I guess, or template, and I'm just on par with that. I'm nah. Uruk-hai are the coolest things in Lord of the Rings, man.
Yeah,
they're
they were pretty sick.
they're like they're the future, right? They're like the modern age of, I guess, the third
Right,
age, right? Because
they're
third age is
industry and
yeah, but not only that, because
yeah.
they're an amalgamation of goblin and orc, right?
Goblins
They're
and orcs are the same thing.
oh, I thought they were different.
Tolkien used the word goblin in The Hobbit because it was a kid's book, and he used the word orc in The Lord of the Rings because it's more adult. They're the same thing.
But so the goblins of Moria are different to like the orcs of Mordor, right?
They're not different species. They're just different like subcultures and things
or factions or whatever.
Yeah,
but because I mean, look, I haven't read them, so this is.
So here's the problem, yeah, because it was one of the dumbest fucking changes in the movies. They're like, oh,
yeah, that's because they did it. And that's exactly my point, right? They said it in the movies. He goes.
Separate, they're the same race.
So then, what are Uruk-hai? They're just like super epic.
Manufactured by Saruman.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's in
they're like
orcs with magic.
Kind of, essentially, yeah.
Okay, it's still proving the same point because it's still super cool. That's the future, right? And you're like, sick.
Yeah,
this is awesome because it's kind of like every
industry and it's all that extra stuff they're adding to it. Yeah.
Yeah, like they invented gunpowder. Yeah, whatever. Or he invented gunpowder, whatever. And I don't know that like the stuff that's on the cutting edge or whatever. It just seems cool. I just feel that stuff that's dated. Very much like, hence why I'm not an Imperium player either, right? Like, or the Imperium that I play is like again the cutting edge of Imperium, i.e., Grey Knights and Death Watch, not the stagnant retards. So I don't know. It's just it's probably got nothing to do with. I think I said this before, which it was more about the Custodes. Like, I love the Custodes in lore. I just hate them on the tabletop. And I think it's very similar to this thing about my opinions on Eldar and stuff. I think it's the archetype or the template that they sit in.
Well, all right, hold on a sec.
I guess
let's break it down a little bit because you're saying you like the Custodes in the lore but hate them on tabletop, but you've very much made it clear that you hate the elves in all forms.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's very very alike at all.
No. I mean, well, I mean contextually. So I think that my I guess grievances are showing by me going, I hate everything Eldar, where in fact I'm actually just hating the archetype of what the Eldar sit in the tabletop. And then like there is some cool lore, and like Harlequin lore, love it. Everything with the Harlequins is cool. Even how they play on the tabletop, everything like that. It just feels, I don't know if it feels balanced. It doesn't feel like just, there's not just these layers upon layers upon layers of just stupid redundancy that just like, bleh, I imagine it's exactly how people feel about Space Marines, right? Like, and I can understand, like, I don't have a real butthurt feeling about Space Marines like that, but I can get how people get that, right? And when they're just like, oh, you've got that. Oh, you've got that. Oh, like 100% I'm there with you. That's how I just feel about Eldar. There's always something, and they're just there. It's like, why aren't they dead? They should just be dead now. Can't the Necron just come up and just kill them, please?
But so I'm trying to remember where this whole thing started, which was.
Well, it didn't. We just got on rant territory.
Yeah.
No, we were talking about.
We're talking about new books.
We're talking about new books.
The Eldar coming out and being busted, and I was pointing out that we don't actually know that yet, but they're probably going to be busted.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I said,
stuff we do know.
Mark my words, they're busted. Stuff we do know.
That isn't busted.
That isn't busted. That seems very well balanced, which I'm very, very excited for. Are the next two books. And Custodes. Well, I mean. Right. I've delved a little bit in the Custodes book, and to be honest, I'm a little bit underwhelmed with that. I actually thought there was going to be a little bit more punch, and we were speaking about this before off camera, whatever the fuck you want to say. But it seems like the design philosophy with Custodes has been doubling down on durability and kind of letting the and again, please take this with a grain of salt because we haven't actually read the books, so this is just from what we've seen. But at the same time, giving them a little bit more, I guess, nuance in play style and potential list construction, those kinds of things.
So I've actually been looking right into some of that because of preparing to play them again and really interested in it. So I've got a few things to say on that one. I'll just, before we go any further, like to hand off to Tim to hear a bit about Dice Arcade.
dicearcade.com.au. All the biggest brands in miniatures and wargaming. Free postage over $250.
Thanks, Tim. So I had a few thoughts on it when we started talking about it a bit before we started recording, and we sort of went, let's hold on and actually talk about it in the podcast. I like the Custodes book, and I like it because it is fine. There's some powerful combos. There's some interesting combos. There's some good stat lines. There's nothing that I read in it and go, wow, this is an auto take, or wow, this is busted. And that's
that's what you want.
Exactly. So
that's good.
I'm keen for it. And so even then, and so this is one of the things that when we're hearing stuff about the Tau and about the Eldar, it's kind of like, all right, it's concerning at the least, because you're going, we're already hearing stuff that with the way the current game sits is likely to be busted.
To be honest, I don't think Tau's going to be busted either. Because if they don't fix one key fundamental thing, which is kind of like how the whole army operates via movement and gaining objectives to negate their inability, like their lack of durability, it won't matter. It won't matter how punchy their fucking hammerheads are, because at the end of the day, you can just spray and shoot the rest of them, and it's not going to matter, right? Which is the current problem they're in right now, right?
So unless they can play the game. Yeah, there's an issue. Exactly.
And that's where I think they're going to... I reckon that's why they're not going to be busted, is because they're going to be able to play the game, and they're going to be... they'll have some really strong shooting in some instances, but they're still, hampered by a 4-up. I know we're not talking about Tau. We're coming back to Custodes GSE, but I'm actually not worried about that. I'm more excited about that. And especially after seeing the GSC and the Custodes, I'm like, these are Death Guard. So far, again, we haven't read them, but these feel like Death Guard quality written books, which is very, very awesome. And I really, really like it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, with regards to the Tau thing, purely as the example, because as soon as the railguns were teased, fucking everyone was talking shit about them for the next week. Like, there was no Facebook group that wasn't, these are busted, the game's broken, time to burn all our models. Kind of thing.
I mean, look, if you think the game's balanced, go play a different game. Straight up, Game is broken. No one's denying that.
Game,
but is this going to make it much worse? I don't know.
Yeah. But with regards to the Custodes book, it seems pretty good. And my main takeaway is that nothing has been given a major improvement. There's been a few small tweaks here and there, but there haven't been any major downgrades. There haven't been any major losses. They haven't really lost anything.
Which is good.
Which is good. There's been bringing some strats and things in line with the new edition. Obviously, losing threat invulnerable saves. Sure, we all knew that was going to happen.
Still got Tanglefoot.
Tanglefoot's still there, still gorgeous.
Which is weird. Yeah. I was actually kind of hoping that one would go away. Just because of just how I still don't understand it.
Tanglefoot.
I don't understand systems, and this is Games Workshop wide. I don't understand where they introduced design mechanics that take agencies away from other players. On average, a neg 2 to charge is a failed charge, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a 34% chance that it doesn't happen, that you don't fail that charge? Why not? It feels to me overpowered for something that doesn't need to be overpowered. Okay, but what I mean by that is, if you had it on, say, a sister's unit or something that's T3 and squishy and can be only used on that unit or whatever, right? Or a super ranged unit, or makes sense. But why a super duper durable Custodes unit that probably is going to tank whatever they're being thrown into them anyway?
Well, I think that's exactly why they have it on them, is because they're supposed to be super durable, and it's preventing damage at a different step in the damage sequence. is preventing the damage from having the chance to be applied.
Because it's a stun grenade, right? Essentially, it's flashbang, right? They're throwing a flashbang as the person's charging in. Like that's the
Sure.
that's the concept.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's just one that I don't know. I've got gripes about because I feel like it's because it's a D6. Like if it was neg 2 or neg 3 or a D3 or something, I think it's because it's D6. I'm just sort of like, really, it's a bit heavy-handed, isn't it?
It can spike high and prevent a 6-inch charge.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh.
Or it can roll low and they'll still roll their 9 inches to get in from deep strike.
And it's just one of those things that, like, okay, and look, maybe this is the whole element of like how you should play it. And again, this is kind of a complicated point because we're talking about, well, Games Workshop's game design / how you're supposed to play within that game design, which is dumb. The sandbox is retarded. But so I have to have multiple charges and force you to use that at potentially 1 or 2 places where I don't mind if I'm trading. Do you know what I mean? Like,
how is it different to having the potential for Overwatch to kill a unit?
Because
it operates in the same space.
Well, I mean, yeah,
the charge.
Overwatch is also super dumb, but whatever. I don't agree with Overwatch either. Like if everything's done in milliseconds, right? Which the game is done in nanoseconds, right? Or whatever or seconds, right? Say it's done in seconds.
It's an abstraction of several things occurring at once. Yes.
Yeah. Right. So every turn is essentially like a second happening, for argument's sake.
Several seconds, but sure. Yes.
Yeah. Whatever. Some arbitrary number of time. Our Overwatch is one of the one things that just feels too fast for that arbitrary period of time.
I mean, that's why you're snap firing.
Yeah, but still.
But yeah,
it doesn't matter about like why does everyone get a shot if you can't turn quick? You telling me a knight can turn at the rate at which a Dimacheron is charging at it? Fuck off. Like, no. So again, we're not trying to, make 40k, a realistic war game, but there's just certain parts of it that you kind of go, well, why, right? And then
I think there are far more egregious examples than Overwatch existing.
No. I agree, and this is like the Tanglefoot thing for me is one of those ones where it's like I don't disagree with it existing. I don't disagree with it being a hamperant to your opponent's charge. I disagree with the degree of it. I don't think it should be a D6 because realistically, your more
reliable 3.
Yeah, or flat number would be better. Just flat 2 or whatever, because there's still a potential. It gives the opposing player where it's like, all right, cool. I've got a 6-inch charge. It's -2. I just can't whiff on there. You still can fail.
Well, you got the same thing with the Tanglefoot. You know in advance that you're likely to be neg 3/4.
Yeah, but like I said before,
you can spike high, you can spike low, but 3/4 is the average.
Yeah, but how many times do people actually roll average charges, right? 9 times out of 10. Like, and this is just
super high or super low.
Exactly, right? It's not super low, but you're on. I would say over a whole game, on average, you're rolling lower than, just a little bit lower than higher. You know what I mean? Like if the average is a 4 charge, you're more likely rolling 3s to 4s than you are rolling 5s to 6s, kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's why I think this is still overpowered, because realistically, you're denying a charge more than 50-50, where I feel like this is a kind of stratum that should just be a 50-50 feels vibes for both players. Like, I'm going to play a 1 CP strat, it may deny, it may not. Kind of like how the whole, I'm not a psychic army, I can just deny your power 50-50.
Right.
Cool, whatever. For whatever reason you have that, fine. I'm, okay with it. Give some agency to the player that has no, playability in the psychic phase, but it's still a 50-50 roll. It's not like, on a 4, 5, or 6 I do it. Oh, sorry, a 3, 4, 5, 6. Right. A 3, 4, 5, 6 I do it. You know what I mean?
Again, this isn't necessarily not a 50 roll either, because, all right, yeah, you have a chance to spike high and like roll that 6 and make the charge impossible, but you also have the chance to roll the 1, and then your opponent still has the chance to roll the charges.
Yeah, but it's Like, what's the average charge distance? Just hypothetically
7.
off the topic.
Average charges on 2 dice is 7.5.
No. I mean, positioning in a game, your average charge distance is going to be
9 inches probably.
Between 6 and a 9, right?
I'd say probably 8 is probably going to be a good average because you got a lot of charges coming from deep strike,
right?
And then you've got a lot that are smaller than that. But I reckon charges from deep strike are probably marginally more common because it's a favored way to deliver charging troops.
Okay, so let's just let's give the benefit of the doubt and say it's a 7, right?
Yeah.
Say the average is a 7. On the average of that D6 dice, or the 50-50, it's a 4. It becomes an 11.
10 or 11, yeah.
Yeah, which is a failed charge. What? 83% of the time. 83% of the time, it's a failed charge.
Sure. Okay. So what you've done is you've essentially just concretized it for yourself as a flat number. Fine.
No, all I'm saying is that I think that having it as just a flat 2, which you could position to use with, say, a plus -2 in difficult ground to make it a -4, is better feeling for both players than a D6. You just don't get to fucking do this, and I don't. Me as a
but it's not a D6 you don't get to do it. It's a D6 that's going to make it very next to impossible.
Well, we just said it's 83% chance that you don't get to do it. So for all intents and purposes, you don't get to do it.
But it's not preventing something from happening. It's you're failing the charge. There is a subtle difference there.
It's still preventing it from happening, right? It still doesn't happen. Like, it's still, whether or not you fail it or it doesn't matter. It still doesn't happen. Every time I'm playing Custodes, I'm charging on 2 fronts every single turn to make sure that they have to pick and choose when they're using Tanglefoot. And that shouldn't be a pushed... there shouldn't be a tactic that is forced to do by players. Do you know what I mean? Like, there should be a workaround.
How is it different to any other tactic being forced? Like any other tactic being useful?
There's a difference between tactics being useful and tactics being forced because they're guaranteed to be used every turn, right? So,
all right. Well, okay, but a different way to do this would be to make yourself close. You're rolling a 2-inch charge; it can't be failed, and then you Tanglefoot. Sure, maximum is now 8 inches.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a way around it. And then realistic, I mean,
like,
it still is a one
play around it.
No, I know.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that the feeling for both players should, from a design point, should come from an equal perspective. So, and this is across the board. This isn't just relegated to Tanglefoot or any of these. There's a heaps of these kinds of things that happen. I mean, Shikari's got so many of them where you're just like, okay, whatever, yeah, righto. And those are the kinds of things that I feel that was very prevalent in 8th. It's Tyranids have this heaps, yeah. Fight twice, shoot twice, move twice. Dumb. Like, they're the only faction that really have it. They're my main faction. I love it. It's great. The only reason why I think it's great because it makes us actually being able to compete against everybody. But if we had a 9th edition book and had all these things, I'd be like, this is fucking dumb. Because it's just it's skewing the agency away from how can the players combat that with their own strategy, their own units, stratagems, whatever it is. So when you have an ability or a thing, and this is just the argument of internal balance, right? Like how you internally balance some things. And to be honest, I was just surprised. I actually thought that was one of the stratagems that was going to be removed. And then, but then they kept stooping dive. Sorry, then did they remove stooping dive? No,
yes,
it's still there. Yeah, they removed it.
Stooping dive is gone.
But then at the same time, I'm like, that one makes more sense to keep there for me, because to do it, you have to set such a huge risk for your unit to be there. You're putting your unit massively in danger, out in the front.
I mean, typically you wouldn't do it like that. Typically you'd use it as a counter charge when you are charged.
Yeah, but a person can get around that by charging a second, right? Because they can't... No, that's not right. How do you counter it? You have to charge with 2 units into the 1 unit and then force the stooping dive on 1. Yeah. I don't know. I just never felt that was as epic as I feel from the games that I've played against and with Custodes, that Tanglefoot is so much more epic than Stooping Dive. Also because the Stooping Dive cost is was 3 CP. Is it still the same?
It's not there.
Oh, sorry, it's not there, of course.
Yeah.
So, the cost was so high that you just didn't use it as much, where Tanglefoot was so cheap and just so much more valuable. From an army that's built in durability and is all about durability. It was just...
Yeah.
It just fit. Like, I get it. I get why they did it. It fits the thing. I just feel it was just heavy, and I still feel it's still just a bit heavy. When I heard it, I was like, really? D6? Okay. All right. Look, whatever. It's just one of those things. Look, again, you got to work around what it is. What it is.
Essentially, a durability buff.
Yeah, it is, of course.
Which kind of makes sense. And fortunately, the rest of the book isn't busted to the teeth.
No,
so
that's also good.
It's not like it's going to sit there and be like that's going to make them untouchable. Like, no, it's. I mean, it's a powerful tool they have.
How do you feel about the Codices?
So yes, that was the thing we mentioned earlier, that they've added stuff about the fighting. Was the fighting styles of the different
fighting stances,
hosts, and then the Qatar fighting stances.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's kind of cool. It's new. I'm salty as fuck about the Qatars just being reanimation protocol, not being command protocols. Because that's all they are. It's Necron command protocols.
Yeah, and they feel like they're just as weak.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, okay. No,
again,
see, look,
haven't read it, haven't played with them. I just
are...
don't reckon. Like, when you look at Admech Canticles and stuff, and you're like,
so,
okay.
I disagree with you on that one. I think the Qatars are good. So, okay. Firstly, all right. From a design space, I'm like, all right, it's just rewritten Necron command protocols. Right?
Also, quickly, it's kata, right? It's taken from Japanese kata, as in karate kata. Yeah, like K-A-T-A.
I have no idea on the etymology of the term.
I'm pretty sure if it's taken from that, which seems like it is, as in a fighting stance, like a type of set of movements that you do. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced kata.
Kata. All right. Cool. Kata. So
you're salty because it's protocols. Yeah.
Yeah. They're Necron command protocols. They're interesting in that you can keep them around. So they're sort of Necron command protocols, but pushed a little closer to Space Marine doctrines, where you sort of move through them in a set order, but you can stay there or keep moving, and you can switch between them. Fine.
But you can't switch between the protocols, right?
You can't switch between protocols, no.
Yeah.
You can
with the Katas, you can, yeah?
Yeah. So there's some adjustments, but in form and spirit, they're just Necron command protocols.
Well, do you think they're halfway between protocols and canticles?
No, there's nothing to do with canticles. They're mostly protocols, and there's a little bit of Space Marine doctrines mixed in, because you move through them in a set order, but you can hold onto them for multiple turns.
Yes, and you can't go back.
And you can't go back. Yeah.
Which,
whereas Necron command protocols, you have a different one every turn.
Yeah.
And you choose which benefit to get, whereas you can choose which benefit to get, but you might keep the other benefit for the turn afterwards. Which is fine. It's a slight adjustment. They're trying to add a bit of flavour or whatever. It's cool that they've got added bonuses. And I do think there are some powerful builds that can take advantage of the cards. The things like having the ability to stop falling back out of combat with them, or to be reducing movement shenanigans in combat. Things like that are powerful insofar as playing the game goes. They are controlling your opponent's army, what they can and can't do.
But those two that you just listed are all combat related, right? And I think I felt the same.
Those two are, yes.
Yeah.
There's also some that are useful, I guess, like shooting twice and stuff. All right, cool. None of the weapons they're doing it with are great.
Great, yeah.
But
and this is what I felt the same. Like a lot of the ones that I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good. I'm like, oh, it's combat. I'm like, oh, it's okay. It's extra. There's one of them that's like extra pile-in or whatever, like an extra 3-inch pile-in.
It reduces pile-in of your opponent.
That's it. That one. And they're all movement in weird, situations. They're very situational. But then I was like, okay, but you need to fucking get there, and Custodes are fucking slow.
Look at Deep Strike everywhere, and your opponent's coming to you as well.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, like, we all know that like one of the biggest hindrances of 9th edition is being slow. I mean, Death Guard and Dark Angels don't podium very high and do very well because of the fact that they're slow.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
Dark
So-
Angels
so-
have
so-
arguably one of the best secondaries in the game, and they still can't podium very well.
I mean, again, Custodes haven't gotten any faster, but they haven't gotten any slower than they were. The Carters aren't bad because the Custodes haven't gotten faster.
No, that's not what I'm
it's-
saying.
Yeah.
I just
So I still think these are quite powerful abilities. You pull them out at the right time.
well, that's the thing, right? That's what we were saying before. Is I feel like compared to other things in other codexes that have come recently, and this is not GSC. This is previous books. The Custodes stuff feels super situational more than anything else. Like you
Yes.
potentially would have to cross not a lot, but just more T's than most would have to do to make it feel powerful.
Look, again, in the vein of Necron command protocols, they feel like they reward you for manipulating the situation to where you need it. I think it's less situational and more have you been able to get your opponent to do what you need them to do.
But it's not helping you to do that, though. That's the point, right?
Right,
that-
yeah.
That's the thing. Like all
yeah.
other army buffs kind of help you to do the thing that your army wants to do. Where this feels like that you need to be doing that, and then it kind of builds on that.
Yes.
Which for some players
Yeah.
might be tough,
I
especially
mean,
new players. Maybe
it doesn't matter if it's tough for some players or not really.
No, but I mean,
Like,
Mike.
if the army's tough to use, then it's tough to use.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: if you're going to introduce that level of depth to something, this is the place to do it, not the main way the army moves or the main way the army works. You add it in like that final layer of rules you add.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Because then you can have
So-
that like your garage hammer. Sorry, your what do you call it? Your garage hammer.
Beer
kind
hammer,
of-
your garage hammer.
Your beer hammer kind of dude that's like, I don't need to worry too much about it, but then you can kind of get the real nitty gritty nuance that's found in a tournament from a competitive player that kind of
Yeah.
really maximizes and gets the most efficiency out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, from a design point, yeah, that's true. That is definitely
Yeah.
the better way of doing it.
And like as far look, some armies are going to be harder to play than others. So that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hands
so
down,
I-
JC is a
I
lot
don't-
harder to play than Custodes.
Yeah, for sure. And so I don't think that's a negative that you can really bring up. That that's hard to play. I think the main thing is that
No, sorry, not hard to play.
You've got-
Probably Wongchess words. Hard to maximize and find hard to find the value of the ability being used in the
Well,
way it's designed to
is-
be
which
used,
is-
sort of thing.
which
you
is
know?
why it's good that the rest of the book is still solid.
True.
Because you turn around and you go, the rest of the book, because
You have a fallback.
The eighth edition
You have
book-
redundancy, I guess.
The 8th
You're right.
edition book for Custodes was already doing work in 9th edition. As an army, they're sort of uniquely suited to naturally play 9th edition missions well.
Yeah, you were fucked if you didn't have
So-
Telemon's bar.
Not necessarily. I mean, again, yes, you can say, by the point we're getting to before this book was released, you had to be running the most broken shit in that book to get with the most broken shit of other books.
Pretty much, yeah.
But
Or even just to
Other-
compete
again-
in general.
again,
right?
and I've said this plenty of times, other books being broken does not make your book
Bad.
itself.
No, it doesn't.
Right? If another book is broken, that's that book's problem. And it's causing a problem for the rest of the game, sure. But the problem isn't all the other books need to be made better, it's that you need to not write broken books in the first place.
Of course, but take it this way:
so-
is a Custodes list without Forge World competing against Space Marines,
Yes.
like Black Templars?
Yeah, I haven't played that game, but I'd be interested to. But I would say probably.
I doubt it.
It
I highly doubt it.
that they might have some good answers to Custodes, but I definitely think it's going to be like a game.
Yeah. On a
compared to say GSC before the book.
No,
Against
fuck no.
against that.
Against
so
Grey
as-
Knights? No.
Yeah.
Against
So against so when it comes to that, you go, well, they already had a book that was functioning fine. It wasn't functioning well. It wasn't a top tier book,
No,
but
it was B,
functioning.
it was B tier or whatever they categorize it these days,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They do
But
the
it was
ABC thing
it
or whatever.
was sure, but it was functioning, right?
Yes, it was working.
Fine.
It wasn't bottom tier. It wasn't
And
top tier. It was in the middle.
and I could comfortably go into Black Templars with it and go, yeah, sure, maybe it's an uphill fight, but there's a game to be had.
Yeah, you're not getting walked
I
over.
could,
Yeah.
exactly. Now, obviously, I couldn't do that into Drakari, Thick City, or whatever, but that just because no one could, right? Like whatever. When it comes down to generalized play against armies that aren't generally considered to be like the most busted thing at the time, the book was functioning fine. So anything that's happening that is adding stuff is good, and if the added stuff isn't, if you're struggling to use that well, then it's fine because you can still play the book the way it used to without them, or you can still benefit from them when they come up, and still have a good time playing without it.
Yeah.
Or playing when it's not actively benefiting you.
And don't get me wrong, like because
yeah.
stuff is situational, like I was saying before, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. It's just one of those things that makes it a little bit harder for, say, newer players or casual players to really take advantage of, where they might, play it and then turn around and go, well, this kind of sucks. Like, last time I could dump all these stratagems or do whatever, have their own opinion about it and then go, but then they're actually missing, the real nuances of actually where the power of the book lies, as opposed to, say, picking up AdMech and being like, haha, I can just pick whatever I want and fucking do whatever I want.
I would almost say, as I've been pointing out, it's one of the strengths of the book is that the book is fine anyway. They're good, and if you can play well and really manipulate your opponent into being where you need them and doing what you need them to be doing, you can take real advantage of the Katars.
Well, there's the question, right?
Like, if you can't do that, But if you can't do that, the book still works, and the army should still work.
Yeah.
And I think this book does. And for that matter, so does the Necron book. All right, Necron command protocols. You said they don't come up very often. When they do, they're great.
Dude, Necron's sick. Like, seriously, we had games a couple of weeks ago, last week or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I thoroughly enjoyed playing Novok Necrons.
And I think you didn't even use command protocols.
I didn't even use it. We were at turn 2, and you're like, oh, what are your protocols? I'm like, I don't even know what that is, man.
Yeah.
Like, I know what it is, but
as far as
I don't know.
Playing Necrons, you go, well, the book itself is written, like, it's, all right, it's not holding up super well, but the book itself works as a book well. And if you've managed to play it well to get the command protocols to help, you've manipulated the situation to where you need them, they're great. And they're really helpful. But if you haven't, the book still functions.
It's funny how you were talking about how it's not Canticles, because the way I'm looking at it now is like Canticles is what happens before you do your setup, where I feel like the protocols and the kata happen after that process. So
yes,
you do your setup, and this is kind of like the kata and and Necron protocols are kind of like the cherry on top, or the thing that gets you over the line, or whatever it is.
You've planned them already. Essentially, like you set up your protocols and your kata.
Yeah.
And then you try and instead of seeing how the game is going and then setting up your response in forms of your doctrines or your canticles, you're setting up your protocols or your katas.
It's proactive, not reactive.
And trying to set the game up to match what you need, where you've got them.
Yeah.
And honestly, I quite like that style of play. It's why I enjoy the Necrons, the way they work.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to play that out. And you're right, it is more difficult to do, but it's also, that's why I wouldn't call it situational. Because it's not something that relies on a situation coming up. It's something that encourages you to force a situation to happen.
So, yes and no. I feel that
I think there's enough of a distinction there to be made.
So katas as a concept, no. The actual katas themselves, yes. Like as in the actual data and what's in each of them, I feel they are more situational than not, compared to other similar things or buffs for other armies in other ways.
Potentially, yes.
I was actually quite surprised in them. I actually thought there was going to be a lot more internal power with them, to do just weird fucking crazy shit. But not, so, and look, maybe I mean, I'm not a Custodes player, so it's hard for me to I'm trying to look at it with a objective mind, but not being too judgy and kind of going, well, if I was a Custodes player, how would I play? But I mean, the whole Custodes play style is just not my play style, so it just doesn't even remotely come close to me trying to put myself in that mindset. So, maybe it's just entirely impossible for me to see it. So, but with that being said, I just feel like the linear power in the Carta itself, and we were talking about this before, and I'll touch on it now, that I feel like the Carta and the Shield Host has been deliberately kind of partitioned to equal power between the two of them, or functionality, whatever adjective you want to use to fucking describe them. That
I think the difference is when you're choosing them, because you're choosing Shield Host when you build your list, so you're wanting your list to play a certain way, but your Carta, you're choosing 3 out of 6 of those, and then every time they come up, you're choosing one of them.
Yeah.
Out of the 2.
Because you have 12 options in total. You have 12. You
have 2 options nested within 6 options. So
you have 12 overall.
No, kind of, but they're locked together.
Yeah, because you have to pick your primary, secondary, tertiary, right?
3 out of 6.
Yeah. But it's like you have 12 options.
And then you pick 2 out of each of those. You have 6 options. The 2 within each Carta are not considered options at the same level as the 6 Cartas.
But do you have to pick? You have to pick your 3 forms before the game, yeah.
You pick 3 Cartas out of the 6.
Yeah, and then they have their
every
2
time
stages.
They happen.
Yeah.
You choose one of the stages to occur.
Yeah. So overall, when you're running a list, you have 6. Yeah, sorry, you have 12. You have 12 options to build your kind of process and your list and your whole aspect of what your army does.
You have 6 options. Because you choose the 2 orders because they're locked together. You can't pick like 1 and 3 and 8 and 7.
Yeah, but say if you make one of them your primary,
we're getting you've got those 2 options then for your first 2 turns.
But you don't have to use them. You can just use the second one. You don't have to use the first one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you choose,
12
but you can't choose. You don't. Okay, we're getting caught up on a semantic point here. But because of when the decision making happens, you have distinct layers of options. You have 6 options, and each of those options has sub options. But you can't jump from. Okay, essentially, you cannot have 4 options in a row that are from 4 different Cartas.
But only one Carta can be active at a time, right?
Yes, and you can only ever be bringing 3 to a game. So you can't have one from the first Carta, one from the third Carta, one from the 4th Carta, and one from the 6th Carta.
Yeah,
so you don't have 12 options to pick from. You have 6.
In an active game, you have... let's change the wording. In an active game, you have 6 benefits that you'll be getting from your army at any one given time, right? You can choose one of 6 benefits any one given time. In your list writing stage, you have 12 benefits that you can choose in your process of how you want your army to play out at different times throughout your game. So you can go, well,
sort of, yes.
There's still the options. There's still 12 options. However you want to fucking dissect it, it's still 12 options, man. There's 12 options. How you use those 12 options, yes, will differ depending on how you do it. It's still 12. 6 times 2 is 12. It's 12. Because the fact that you can stay in one for like a turn, 2 turns, whatever, then you can move to another one. When you play the game, you have your 6, but overall, you have 12 options to pick from. I think it's good. I just wish it had more power. Like, I wish they were more, Custodes feeling, I guess. A bit more... I don't want to say strong, because strong implies, like, offensive. I just meant more, I guess, just... even utility just implies non-offensive or aggressive, just... More use. They just seem a little bit... weak, put it that way. That's just my opinion. They just seem weaker. I was expecting them to be a little bit stronger. And again, we haven't played with them. We haven't, because this is just on paper, right?
The strength of them. Now, coming back to where this whole argument started, is that the strength of them is that you don't come to the table already knowing what they are.
Yeah, it's to enhance where you currently are at the stage. Yeah, no, it's reactive, not proactive. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's a different mindset. I get it. But maybe that's the point, right? I wish it was more kind of Canticly rather than what it is. Put it that way. Maybe that's where I'm coming from. Maybe. Because I feel like that's kind of like a more or less a lot of 9th edition is kind of, I'm going to make a choice. This is now giving this buff, and then I'm going to go do this, and it's all very like pre-orientated plan of in pre-buffing and then doing stuff. We have the command phase. The entire edition is built up. Well, not the entire edition, but parts of the edition is built off that, and the game is built off pre-buffing people to then go do things and all those kinds of bits and pieces. Maybe I'm coming from the perspective thing. I wish there was more linear power in pre-assigning those kind of abilities to people. And look, to be honest, I think your analogy of it, that it's a post-decision thing, or it's a more reactive. If I'm in this situation, well, it's giving you options in an environment where you wouldn't necessarily maybe have options, because otherwise you would have already pre-made decisions. That in itself probably has a hell of a lot of power, because no one else really kind of has that. To the level of detail, like you're saying, like it's very similar to Necron protocols in the sense of how you approach your Necron lists, but it's not done to the detail that this is. So this is kind of really unique in its own right, which is cool.
Yeah, so the because you can choose which ones to go into, it prevents you from having ones that aren't useful, right? Because I see what you're saying with regards to the Carters don't all have a linear power set. Sure, so you don't pick that Carter when you don't need that one.
Yeah.
And that's basically the idea. Because you can speed through them and end up in the 3rd Carter in the 3rd turn and just not have one for turn 5.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, obviously there's still
you
a
can
bit of delay in that.
You can go back to a Carter I thought you could go back to a Carter just not to the alternate option that you'd done.
Okay, you can stay in the same Carter for more than one turn, for 2 turns, using each option, but you can't then go back to a Carter you've already been in.
I thought it was right, okay. I thought it was like say you started in Carter 1 option 2. I thought you could go to like Carter 2 option 1, but then you could go back to Carter 1 option 1, but not option 2 because you'd already been in it.
No. So once you've moved out of Carter 1, you never go back to Carter 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So, but you can go option 1, option 2 for 2 turns though, right?
Yes.
You can switch between
1. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So the back and forth between those two is fine, but it caps at 2, right?
Forth. You can't go option 1, option 2 back to option 1.
No, that's what I'm saying. It caps at 2. You can
exactly.
Once you've used the 2 options, then you have to move on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you can move on straight through them. You can go option 1, then Carter 2 option 1, Carter 3 option 2, option 1.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Like if the game is moving on, you can do that.
Yeah. Right.
So it's a slightly more flexible version of command protocols, in one sense, but also slightly more inflexible in another. But the fact is, because you choose them when you're showing up to play the game, you know what your opponent's bringing, you know what the mission is, you can tailor them to how you're going to play. So, and again, this is where, and I think there is strength in it, and that's why I disagree with you about the linear power, is because you're thinking about any given Carter, and then thinking about what kind of armies it would be not useful against, and how often those armies occur.
100%. That's exactly how I'm thinking about it.
But you would never take that Carter against that army then.
But how do you prepare? How do you prepare for multiple armies? Right. That's the point.
Well, you don't, because you choose the Carter at the table.
Oh.
They're literally command protocols. You show up to the table and you choose your Carter.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Right.
Yeah.
I thought it was done in full like list writing stage.
But that's the shield host. Shield host is list writing stage. Carter is at the table. But the same as any other table buffs. Doctrines, canticles, command protocols. They're all done at the table.
Well, doctrines don't have a choice, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I wish there was more of that. I've listened to so many other podcasts where they talk about how the old days where you could like pick your warlord traits and shit, like back in the day, at the table. And you're like,
yeah.
That seems a bit too far.
That's
like
I don't
the
think
other
that
side.
I don't
think
that's
good.
Supposed to happen. But I think that was often a random thing. You could elect to randomly pick one, so you'd often do that at the table.
I feel like their fucking psychic powers 100% need to be
No,
done.
see, psychic powers were always you do them at the table, but they were always randomly generated.
No, but I'm saying they should be available for everyone to pick at the beginning of the game. It
I
should
disagree
not be
purely
a
from a
list
lore
thing.
perspective, which is that you pick a librarian who knows the right things.
No, I'm talking fuck law. I'm talking from a game design fun point of view. You should be able to pick whatever powers you want at the start of the game. Like it just makes it more fun. I mean, you pick your secondaries. Why can't you pick your powers? I feel like that's the part of the issue, right? Is you have part of your game plan that's tailored and other that isn't. And this is kind of just across 40k in general. You know, you have, especially 9th edition, more than I guess anything else.
I don't think psychic powers are particularly comparable to, like, army-wide abilities and things. I think you're talking at a different stage then, and I understand why that's a list construction, because it's no different to giving someone a piece of war gear that gives them a buff.
No, but I mean, like, yeah, there was I guess in a way, yeah. I just feel that there are definitely powers that exist for more functionality in certain matchups than in others.
Yep. And so you weigh up your risk of coming into that matchup and you pick the power. There are some items that...
You could argue the same thing against Carter, right? Or the same against an army buff. Like, the same argument goes both ways, right? Like, it's...
But then they're not comparable in the same degree. You absolutely could. You could turn around and go, well, I think Carter's...
Yeah, like...
should be chosen during the army construction stage. And sure, it's an argument you can make. But using the fact that Carter's are chosen then to justify psychic powers being chosen then is a non sequitur.
No, I'm not saying
it doesn't follow.
I'm not saying that deliberately. Saying that like because one isn't, therefore the other should, or whatever, or vice versa. But I mean, in the sense that there is a fundamental sort of imbalance between that structure of there are armies that have things that can do pre-game and that can actively affect how the game will function, and then others that don't.
Right. Fortunately, most of the armies that can actively affect how the game functions are Custodes and Necrons, which aren't in the best positions. But yeah.
No, but
as far as
Admech can do it too. Admech can do it too, right?
I mean,
because their whole canticle thing, they can just pick whatever the fuck they want whenever they want. They don't have to choose.
Yeah,
shit.
but they do lock. And they do lock themselves out of it.
Yeah, again, it's the same. Again, it's a very similar system, right? Like they can't go back and all that.
Yeah, but again, you're pulling out potentially one of the most broken books in the game and going, every army should be this level. No, that book has a problem.
I've always said this. If you're going to write broken books, make everyone's books broken. It's the same thing with cheating. Like, if you're going to be Lance Armstrong and, you know, Dopin or whatever, it's what's it in is it in gym? It's in the Olympics. So it's in the Olympics where like the whole thing with the Russians and all that. Yeah, like with all the the cheating. If everyone's cheating, well, that's just the new medium, right?
Right.
What the fuck does it matter? There's no difference.
Right. Sure. So you're saying every single book should be
broken. I'm saying if you're gonna write broken books,
yeah,
write every book broken, right? So make every book just super powerful to the tits, busted, and you'll actually find over a period of time of say, 3, 6, 12 months, you'll actually find the meta will probably end up stabilizing better than the way it currently is.
Right. See, actually, there's an interesting discussion to be had here that we might have to have next week, because I actually disagree with you on that. Because I think there is a point you get to where a book becomes too powerful that
with the
no matter how essentially you make first turn advantage and things like that too big. And I think Admech have
crossed. And
Drukhari
and Orcs, right? Orcs hit that real hard.
Orcs hit that harder than anything else.
Yeah,
but I think as the game currently sits, I think both Admech and to Drukhari less so now because they're more of a durability thing now. But Admech still sit at that point where
if I get turn 1, half your army's dead, therefore you're fucked. You can't get to turn 3.
So,
and that
doesn't matter how powerful the return punch is. The army's too good, and I think.
Well, it depends on what you define broken, right? Do you define broken? I don't mean you personally. I just mean in general. Like, do we define broken as, the most offensive power army, or do we define broken as like, because if you
I think
if you
you can
if
be
you
broken
took
on
if you
different dimensions.
yeah, that's what I mean. It's like if you took the premise of like, okay, if there's a book just as fucked as like Gen 1 2021 AdMech, whatever it was,
Yeah.
21, yeah, it was 21. They go, all right, well, what's my durability counter? And I have all the creativity in the world, and I just make a durability counter where you're like, well, all right, well, now it's not so much about, it's great, you get turn 1, you can't kill me. I can't kill
Sure.
you. I can't kill you either because I probably have no offensive power. But I mean, you still
Yeah.
can't kill me, right? So there are ways in which you can. Then this is
Right,
what I mean
okay,
about
so
naturally
no
finding
one's-
that balance will come out naturally as long as those
Yeah.
books are written equally broken. And that's the most important caveat is that if you're doing it this way, it's like saying, oh, let's just make a balanced game. Obviously, that's just what you do. But if you're going to make everything broken, if you're going to look at it from this perspective, and one thing's broken, and you want to try and look at it like everything is super powerful, if you make things super powerful within their own archetype, you will find a natural, and then you kind of, because what you'll do is you'll have your peaks, right? You'll have your peak offensive thing, you'll have your peak defensive thing over a period of time, and then naturally, like all metas do, they will plateau, right? And they'll realize that yes, they may have this potential to run this super defensive thing or this super offensive thing, but it doesn't fit for every matchup. And over a long enough timeline, it will weasel out to become this kind of more neutral line.
And the problem you have is when you have things like AdMech with 20 boxes Katario deleting everything else in the game. You go, well, they're playing too strongly along too many different dimensions.
Well, and this is the fear about Eldari too, right?
The point, yeah, same fear with Eldari, and I think
they'll be good at
and
everything across the board.
Keep in mind, like I've thrown shots at you for saying this without seeing the book yet. I do think they will be broken. I do agree with you on that. I just saying like, look, just hold your horses before declaring it as fact.
No, straight up fact. It's be fact.
but with regards to stuff like that, simply going, oh. There is still a point at which you go, the book is broken to the level that making all the other books the same amount of broken does not fix this problem. To the level of, or along the dimensions of. Because otherwise you end up with, oh, all the other books are just that book again.
Well, it depends on what you define as broken, right?
Okay,
and then it reflects upon the game, and then
So
at the end of the day, it also forgets.
The point that you were making here was that you want. The point here is to go. Well, AdBlack have the canticles, which are probably a bit much. And you go, well, either. Right, they're still good.
They're good. Yeah, they're super good. But they're
super good.
But they're right now because
the
data
top tier army. Because the rest of the army's been toned down.
Yeah. As it should have been. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. But with regards to that, you go, well, how come they get that? Well, because that was written poorly.
Yes. That's true.
And writing everything else to match that level of power you end up pushing the game towards a point where you get orc bullshit happening, where turn 1 is a 1 game.
But you're also assuming, again, this is what I was saying before, you're assuming that the power is written in the same way.
Right,
like I said, if you write a super offensive book, well, you can counter that by writing a super defensive book. And
you can, but again, you go, all right, so you're getting this hard counter and that hard counter and that hard counter. But again, it relies on all those books then being internally balanced as well. So that even though they hard counter each other, they still have the tools in them that when the entire meta can stabilize, you can still write stable lists. All that would be happening is you'd be having a massive, pretty complex game of rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, right? I didn't say it would make for
not a healthy place for the game to be. So saying that you need to write all the books as broken is not a solution. You need to find the level at which power is good and fun to use, but still allows a game to occur based on the skill of the players.
No, you just need to write balanced books, which is, again, it's still not hard. If you design them all at the same time, it's not difficult. I'm sorry, it just isn't. The game isn't that complicated. Like yes, there are some complicated elements. The game is not that complicated. You could write 40k on an entire spreadsheet, and you could just run formulas that'll highlight the issues of certain builds. Like it's not that. Yes, it's time consuming, and obviously, but you'd expect people to be paid to do this, right? But
Right.
I do think that if you're going to write...
complex and there's RNG involved, but it's still...
It
still could be in a lot better state than it currently is.
Ultimately... So look, 9th edition, when it started, up until the Drukhari Codex, was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to play. It was good to play. It was super balanced. Every book... Even when people were getting shitty about the Dark Angels book, like... Yeah, it was tough, but, you know, Death Guard's still a game into it. Death Guard's still, barring what people are saying that I know about the GSC book and that, very similar. And still today, the Death Guard book is the best book that has come out of 9th edition, that has come out of probably Games Workshop, period. Because it's internally balanced, it's externally balanced. It was the, 4th book released?
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years ago, and it still hits. It's still, you know, you're still getting faction podiums within Chaos. You're still getting the, you know, large percentage of Death Guard players globally, and that's not because of, like, you know, they're poster childs or because they have mad boxes or anything. No, one, because the army's easy to play. It's fun to play. There's variety within the lists. There's not one standard archetype. It's good. So whoever wrote that book, give them a promotion, have them write more books, and also, Games Workshop, write all your books at the same fucking time.
Yeah.
Take standard game design processes and implement them in how you design your game. Like, Jesus Christ. And you avoid all these issues. It's not rocket science. It really isn't. Sorry. It's just not. And look, at the end of the day, you can talk about codex balance and codex creep and, you know, this, that, and the other. At the end of the day, the game is still hemorrhaged by the fact that it is not an alternate activation game, that it is you do everything and I do everything. And everyone...
That isn't necessarily make it unbalanceable.
No, but it massively restricts what the game wants it to be, what the game wants to be.
Yeah.
And everyone on the planet can talk to the blue in the sun about it being this thing. And unfortunately, it's never going to be that thing because the core system is the way it is. Again, really leveraging what you were saying about turn 1, doesn't matter how balanced you make it, because of how it functions, turn 1 is always an advantage. Sorry, not always. Fucking 7 times out of 10, it's an advantage. Whether that be because you get extra rounds of shooting, whether that be because you get on better positions, and the more it moves to a mobility objective game, the more important turn 1 is a better advantage.
Yeah.
And because as the opposing player, you have no reaction because you have to do all your shit, then I do all of my shit. And I think
alternating activations doesn't solve that issue. It changes the issue.
No, but what I mean in the sense of it makes the design process of a balanced game easier when you don't have one player doing everything and the other player doing everything.
Right, yeah.
Purely from a numbers point, purely from a...
Yeah.
However you want to look at it, it's easier to do. It makes more nuance. It makes game design more fun. It makes gameplay more fun. I mean, anyone who's currently playing 40k, if you're still listening to this at this point, go play Kill Team. It's great. Go play Infinity.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep.
Yes, you know, Infinity is a bit of a much harder game than 40k, but even if you just play it at a little bit of a dumbed down version for yourself like we have, it's better. It just is. Kill Team is amazing. The mechanics are really good, and that's the thing. 40k's mechanics haven't changed. What, 32, 35 years? 35 years.
More or less, yeah. And I mean, look, it's not impossible to make a balanced game that has, you know, I go, you go.
No, of course not.
I'll hold up Ninth Age as a perfect example of that. It's incredibly balanced.
Well, the start of 9th edition. The start of 9th edition. Like I literally said at the start of this whole little spiel was that up until the Drukhari book, the game was great. The game was
for the players who had new books.
Well, even so,
which isn't the same thing because
it wasn't still bad. It was not the bad feels you have now. Like, right. Hey, and look, I
would say, as we're sitting currently, it's tending back towards that. It's not there yet, but it is tending back towards that.
It is. But hey, in our entire group, did I play 9th edition Codex up until Drukhari? No, I didn't play 9th edition Codex up until GK.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because all I played was Tyranids.
Yeah.
And
you played Deathwatch a bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but then I just didn't really enjoy playing those Primaris because I refused to play Primaris. But so Tyranids was my number one play, and I still had play into pretty much everybody. So it was better. It was. It just was.
Yes.
It was.
Yes.
It was, and it was literally because of that one book. That just set the trend for the rest. But anyway, look.
Yeah.
We didn't even really talk about the GSC. I love the fact that you can take 5 HQ choices for 3 slots. I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Don't know if it's actually tactically awesome. So basically, just for everyone out there, in our league, I'm going to be playing GSC flat out because I'd rather it's as close as I can get to Tyranids having a 9th edition book. And from what I've seen and what I've read, it's just really, really cool and really janky and really weird. Potentially, they're going to be taking GSC or Crusher Stampede to the Vic Masters event, which is in February. Yep. One or the other depends how much reps I can get in between now and the 20th of Feb.
Or the 19th of Feb. I'll be running the Necrons because that's cool.
Yeah. And hopefully you'll be running not just an 80 warrior spam. You'll be running something like heavy destroyers, or you should run a destroyer cult list, bro.
Oh, I could. I've got the destroyers to do it.
Dude, that would be sick as a army of renown.
Yeah. Well, imagine a destroyer list and a flayer list as armies of renown.
Well, no, you'd go destroyer and
the dynasty. No, as in two separate armies. A flayer dynasty.
And the cryptic one.
A canoptic one.
Canoptic one. Yeah. You'd go a canoptic dynasty. You would go flayed ones, or just flayed ones. You have one
unit.
Ones
are awesome. No, that's what I'm saying. You'd make an army of renown, which you can take characters and stuff and adjust them just like this.
Yeah, but that's not selling models for Games Workshop.
Yeah, it is. Because everyone has to go out and buy characters to convert.
Yeah, but not everyone converts, mate.
Yeah, but it'd be cool, man.
I know.
I just want flayed one characters. Yeah.
Look.
All right.
I'm working in the realms of the real. As much as I agree with you, it would be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Even if they just had either an army of renown that was Destroyer Cult or Canoptek. Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. Even the Canoptek thing has a fucking, doubling down shit against fucking Admech for whatever reason because they're kind of, similar-ish.
Well, because Admech worship a splinter of the Void Dragon.
Whatever, yeah. You know what I mean? They're just or those whatever, and then Destroyer Cult's just they hate everyone, so whatever.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be really cool. I'd be really interested.
I just want Hatred Everything to be the name of the rule again.
Well, I think that would be the name of the the Hatred Legion or something like that.
Hatred Everything. Yeah.
No, I know, but it'd be the Hatred Legion or the angry Legion, angry dad. It's the butthurt Legion. That's the Necron Destroyer Cult. Nah, it'd be cool. I must say that I do like the Army of Renown stuff. I really wish it wasn't in White Dwarves, but I really wish they were just built into either campaign books or just the actual fucking codexes. Because they're really cool flavor and I think it's a cool system that they're using. Games Workshop.
It's skirting dangerously close to
formations.
The old formations.
Yeah.
But they're so far.
None of them are super powerful.
Yeah, save Cult of Strife, but that was already busted to begin with. If it wasn't for the core book being so good, the Army Renown wouldn't be crazy.
Actually, the veteran cohorts probably prior to nerf was the only one that hit that echelon of power.
I would say same thing again. If the core book that was building on wasn't busted, it wouldn't be that big of an issue.
Yeah, but it is. So that's what I'm saying. That.
Yeah.
But
that's the problem with the Army of Renown. It's the problem with the books in general.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I guess you could look at it that way. Yeah,
the book was busted without the Army of Renown anyway. So
it's the same thing with Drakari and Strife, right?
Whereas if you wrote the books better in the first place, you could add that Army of Renown. It might still be good, but it wouldn't be the same busted.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But which is good because formations in 7th were fucking insane.
Well, this is the thing. The difference is Strife is not an Army of Renown, right? Strife is just a supplement.
I think it's just a supplement. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the thing. There's no drawback there, where like the veteran cohort is an army of renown. So there is still a drawback there, and you can imagine if it didn't have the power of the book, probably no one would ever fucking take it because the points increase per model was just through the roof.
Well, you would take it for narrative stuff because it's cool.
Yeah. Whatever.
Which is where these things should operate.
Which is kind of frustrating because you kind of look at it and going, well, if Strife was a renown, probably wouldn't be so fucked because the negative probably would have been like, I don't know.
Take witch cult or something.
Yeah, you could only take witches.
You couldn't soup in all the other stuff that makes them work better.
Yeah, you can't have transports of other detachments travel you fucking places and shit.
Yeah. Which is dumb anyway.
Yes.
But yeah.
But it seems like even, especially with the new GSC crossfire rule and all those kinds of things, they're moving very heavily towards. I mean, this has been in the works for ages in terms of like the interwebs has been talking about Games Workshop's design philosophy of being they want factions to be played mono. That's very, very clear with the GSC
which is a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, ally's dumb. It just shouldn't be. I disagree with it entirely. You should never be able to ally with anyone. Because when on earth would they like? Yes, they might be on the same battlefield.
But yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like, when Space Marines are there, when Astra Militarum's there, they're not talking to each other.
I mean, again, in the lore, they do quite often operate together.
Really? Do they though? I mean, I feel like the impression of Space Marines is they do whatever the fuck they want, and they turn around to the Imperial Guard and say, "Hey, this is happening. Suck it up." And they're like, "Okay."
Sure.
Like that's normally what happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, again, they're still operating together on the same battlefield, and they're still, in that case, you'd think about it more as the Guard complementing the Marines' actions than the Marines complementing the Guard's actions.
100%. But that's what I mean in terms of on a battlefield, in terms of controlling two generals, like it's.
Yeah, I mean, look, but I think I don't have a problem with a system for representing that existing, but playing monofaction should have more bonuses. Yes.
Yeah, I just reckon you just pick an army and play an army. Allies just makes it. When did they even bring allies in? Was that like a 5th edition thing?
So there was an allies matrix in.
Because I don't ever remember it being
the first time it was formalized.
Okay, 6th. Okay, all right.
But I believe there were ways to do things like having Space Marine unit support.
Oh no, you did it. You did it in 4th with Demon Hunters. Because I remember you could actually take.
Yeah, well, because Demon Hunters as an army you pick units from different codexes.
No, but you could have like Inquisitors in Space Marine lists as well.
Yeah, which makes sense for Inquisitors.
But like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. It's just weird. Like Inquisitors aren't battle line troops. Like they're not on the fucking war front. They're just not. They're more.
Again,
they're more the clandestine side,
and may occasionally occur, but it's not
because they just happen to be there. But they're not. They're not commanding troops into battle. There's a very soldier and spy are very, very clearly different.
But I mean, again, this is a very big thing where you go, well, there's a big disconnect between the lore and the tabletop.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and this is one of those things where you go, well, people have cool models and we want them to be able to use them.
And it's annoying because I really feel like if they actually follow the lore more, the game would be a lot better. I mean, aside from, Necrons and Tyranids just beating everybody. But, I mean, aside from that, I guess from a structured point of view, not necessarily power, like army power, but just structure of, like, how these things happen from a local point of view. I think the game would be better, like it was. I mean, I still stand by, like, 3rd edition had some really cool shit.
It did, yeah.
Really good shit, but whatever. We're getting better. Put it that way. We're getting better, everybody. Rant over.
Yeah. Well, on the positive side, the new books are cool. We like them.
I didn't feel that was overly negative.
It's pretty negative. No. I'm a big fan of the Custodes, and for the reason we discussed, I'm keen to use them. I'm salty they like Necron protocols, but that does mean there's a certain level of depth there. Genestealer cults sound like a lot of fun. I'm keen to play against you with them, as in play you when you're using them on the weekend, Locky.
It's going to take some time. Put it that way. I feel like it's from a person who's
it's going to be a big day for us to really get our heads around them both.
Yeah, like I've conceptualized the army for a while now and thought about, dabbling in it and whatever. And I was like, no, I'll wait for the book. And then the book's coming out. And I'm just like, wow, okay, this is going to take a bit to, die. And there seems to be the consensus at the moment. It's like it's a kind of similar to AdMech in that sense. It's a high level of entry in terms of, memory or how things work. So many characters, everyone's considered, which is totally up my speed. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's tackle this. Even like prior to me starting, I was like, it was either AdMech or Deathwatch. So I was like, what?
Yeah. So that's cool. So make sure to be subscribed to our YouTube channel to catch that one next Saturday, as well as our Codex reviews and all that kind of stuff that is coming. Otherwise, we'll say thank you for listening if you're still sticking with us. And make sure to check out our Discord, Patreon, Dice Arcade, all the usual shit. You know the drill. We will catch you guys next week.
Bye-bye. I need a drug where I don't eat or sleep, but it doesn't destroy my body.